The Navy SEAL team was boxed in, trapped among the shattered remains of an abandoned coastal refinery in Louisiana. Their extraction corridor cut off, enemy fire hammered in from 3 sides, every burst echoing through twisted steel and broken concrete. Over comms, a desperate voice crackled, "Command, this is Bravo 2. We're pinned. No sniper cover. Holding for air extraction." A sudden silence, then crack! A single round ripped through the humid air, splintering the barrel of an enemy machine gun. Another shot followed, deadly, precise, dropping a hostile before he even cleared the corner. One SEAL muttered under his breath, almost in disbelief, "Who the hell's clearing our path?" The auxiliary channel came alive, calm and controlled. "Eagle 5. Extraction route opening, shot by shot. Where in the world are you tuning in from today? Let me know in the comments below. And if that moment just had your pulse pounding, trust me, you'll want to see what comes next." Meet Maya Kepler, 31 years old. The official paperwork lists her as a technical range assistant in the SEAL training program, nothing glamorous. On the books, she's the person who makes sure rifles are clean, optics are dialed in, and the logbooks are squared away. Black hair pulled tight into a no-nonsense ponytail, compact build at just 5'3". Most days she's in oil-stained mechanics coveralls, moving between benches stacked with rifles, scopes and charts no one else bothers to read. Her job description? Support sniper training. That means calibrating scopes, tracking shot deviations, logging range data, and running surveillance drones to check targets. Some of the younger SEAL candidates made jokes, light ones, the kind you tell because you don't know any better. "Here comes the legend of the barrel brush," one quipped during inspection. But Sergeant Harlan Beck, the veteran training commander, would just smirk and tell rookies, "Don't let her handle your rifle too long. She'll outshoot half of you, and it'll wreck your confidence." Everyone laughed. They thought it was banter. Then one day, during a wind drift calibration test, Maya stepped in. The shot group was off by 1.5 inches, barely noticeable to most eyes, but unacceptable to her. She recalculated the angles by hand in 8 seconds flat, scribbling numbers on a scrap pad. When the sniper took the shot again, the round landed dead center. A trainee blinked, confused. "Where'd you learn math like that?" She just smiled faintly. "You shoot enough times under fire, the numbers become second nature." It wasn't a boast. It was the quiet statement of someone who'd been there before. Someone who'd worked in places the training manuals don't mention. Despite that expertise, Maya never sought attention. She turned down every opportunity to appear in official demonstrations. When evaluators visited, she faded to the background. Her workshop was her territory, a hidden sanctuary of precision. Every wall was covered in ballistic charts, each marked in pencil with notes only she could decipher. Her custom-built workbench was lined with disassembled rifle components arranged so meticulously that you'd think each piece had a permanent place. To outsiders, it looked like an obsessive mechanics habit. To the trained eye, it was the workspace of someone who had kept people alive in the field. When Maya cleaned a rifle barrel, her movements were deliberate, patterns honed, over countless hours in high-stress situations. When she tested a scope, her breathing synced naturally with a sniper's rhythm. Inhale, exhale, squeeze. The younger soldiers figured she was just really good technical support. What they didn't notice was how she always positioned herself with a clear line of sight to every exit, or how her eyes reflexively checked elevated positions and potential ambush angles, or how she could identify the engine type of an approaching vehicle before it even came into view. During equipment inspections, she handled rifle stocks with the precision of a surgeon inspecting surgical tools. She spotted hairline fractures in metal, predicted when a spring was one misfire from breaking, and noticed inconsistencies in ammunition by weight alone. But the thing that struck people the most once they realized it was her silence. Maya could move through the facility like morning fog, present one moment, gone the next. Operators with years of combat experience would look up and find her standing beside them without a sound. In the far corner of her workshop stood a single locked equipment case. Everything else, rifles, optics, tools, was in open storage, easy access, but this case stayed locked always. No one knew the combination. No one asked. What lived inside didn't show up on any official inventory, and every now and then, when the range was quiet and the recruits were gone, Maya would open satellite imagery files and classified topographic maps. She'd trace the contour lines with her fingertips, calculating distances and angles that had nothing to do with routine sniper practice. Her notebooks, buried under stacks of maintenance logs, were filled with mathematics beyond standard ballistics, complex formulas, adjustments for variables no one else bothered to consider. To everyone else, Maya Kepler was the range's quiet mechanic. But to those who paid attention, she was something much, much more. Maya Kepler's notebooks weren't filled with idle math. They contained speed calculations for shifting atmospheres, bullet drop compensation for extreme distances, and adjustments for environmental variables that only mattered when precision meant survival. But the most telling habit wasn't in her books, it was in her mannerisms. During training exercises, her lips would move ever so slightly. 7 numbers repeated over and over, almost like a whispered mantra. A trainee remembered it years later during a debrief. I'd blown a shot way off target. I braced for her to tear me apart. But she didn't criticize. She just looked at me and asked, "Did you put your teammate's life behind that bullet?" The weight of that question hit harder than any reprimand. The trainee swore his hands never shook on a trigger again. Then came Operation Iron Mantis. SEAL Team 8 was deployed to extract hostages from a captured research facility in a ruined Midwestern industrial district, once thriving, now reduced to a jagged maze of collapsed steel and crumbling brick. Everything went smooth at first, until it didn't. The team's planned extraction route, gone. Enemy forces had sealed off every corridor, locking down each intersection, with high-angle shooters, hidden in shattered windows and improvised positions. No sniper support available, no artillery backup, no air extraction. Heavy cloud cover grounded the helicopters. One man was already wounded. The firefight was tightening like a vice. From the command tent, an urgent transmission crackled over the comms. "Base, this is Bravo team. We're boxed in. We need precision fire support to open a path. We are out of time." At the base, Maya was monitoring the mission through a live drone intelligence feed. Her eyes moved between screens, enemy heat signatures, shifting positions, patterns that weren't random. She'd seen this before. The enemy had built a corridor kill trap, forcing the SEALs into a fatal funnel, cutting down anyone who tried to move. Maya didn't ask permission. She didn't wait for orders. She stood, walked to her locked case, and keyed in the code no one else knew. Inside was the DRS-12, a sniper platform. Modified far beyond anything in the official arsenal. She'd tuned it herself. Paired it with a custom infrared targeting module designed for dense urban combat. In one smooth motion, she shouldered a pack, slung the rifle, and wheeled out on an all-terrain bike. Her destination, an elevated ruin. 2.3 miles. Northwest of the kill zone, the only vantage point in the sector capable of providing the precision coverage the SEALs needed. Minutes later, her voice came over the auxiliary channel, calm and steady. "Eagle 5 online. 4 overwatch positions blocking your route. I'm clearing them one by one. Stay tight. Be ready to move." The first shot punched through the humid air, clean, controlled, dropping the northern sniper who'd been tracking the team. The second shot slammed into the receiver of a machine, gun nest covering the primary intersection, silencing the weapon before the gunner even realized he was exposed. From her concealed perch, Maya began dismantling the enemy's overwatch, shot by calculated shot. Each round wasn't just about hitting a target. It was surgical removal of obstacles, choking the team's path to safety. Enemy comms began to fracture. Their strategy, built on high-angle dominance, collapsed. Without Overwatch, their ambush plan fell apart. One by one, their positions fell silent, unable to pinpoint the source of the precision fire that was systematically dismantling their tactical control. Confusion turned to panic. And deep in the ruins, the corridor that had been a death trap was opening. From her perch above the ruined city, Maya Kepler worked with a precision that looked almost mechanical. But there was nothing routine about what she was doing. Her firing sequence followed a deliberate pattern, one designed to do more than just eliminate threats. She targeted equipment before personnel. A destroyed radio antenna here, a shattered optics mount there. The result? Confusion, chaos. The enemy didn't just lose firepower, they lost coordination. It was psychological warfare, shot by shot. Her custom DRS-12 wasn't built for show. It was built for urban precision under combat stress. The infrared module she'd engineered herself cut through the haze and dust, picking out heat signatures that were invisible to the naked eye. A hostile hidden behind a wall of crumbling concrete might have thought he was safe until her scope read the glow of his body heat like a beacon. Each round was timed with surgical precision. Just as SEAL Team 8 approached a dangerous intersection, crack! A sniper overwatch went silent. As they turned a blind corner, crack! A machine gun went dark. The timing was so exact it almost looked like the mission had been planned around her fire support. But there was no playbook, no set choreography. Maya was improvising, reading the battlefield in real time. Every SEAL movement, every hostile shift, every potential threat, all flowing through her mind like a living map. Down in the streets, the SEAL team moved. These were the same corridors that had been kill zones minutes earlier, now clear, silent, and just open enough for movement. They advanced in tight formation, every man fully aware that someone, somewhere, was carving a path for them one shot at a time. Maya's covering fire didn't just remove threats, it controlled the tempo of the fight. Each round was placed with intent. Each impact shifted the enemy's focus, sowed doubt, broke their timing. She wasn't just protecting the SEALs. She was dismantling the battlefield itself, piece by piece. From her high perch, Maya Kepler spoke rarely, only when it mattered. Her voice on comms was calm, controlled, and stripped of anything that could distract the men on the ground. Pathway Alpha clear. Move in 30 seconds. Intersection Bravo neutralized. Advance when ready. Final quarter opening. Extraction point secured. No wasted words. No chatter that could clog the channel. On the ground, SEAL Team 8 moved with a confidence that wasn't born of luck. It was born of precision overwatch. Every time an enemy tried to reposition and set up a new blocking point, Maya was already a step ahead. Her experience in similar urban kill zone scenarios told her exactly where they'd move. She began targeting positions before they were occupied. A shattered window here, a collapsed wall there, denying the enemy any opportunity to rebuild their ambush net. Her fire didn't just protect the team, it stripped the enemy of initiative. What had started as a desperate escape was now a controlled, measured withdrawal. The SEALs weren't running for their lives. They were moving with deliberate precision, every step protected by someone they couldn't see but trusted completely. Back in the command center, Sergeant Harlan Beck stood over the live feed, arms crossed, jaw tightening. He'd seen sniper support before. This wasn't it. This wasn't standard Overwatch, it was battlefield orchestration. The timing, the communication, the target selection. This was someone who didn't just know urban combat. This was someone who had lived it over and over again in real operations. Beck leaned closer to the monitor, eyes narrowing. He began scrolling through Maya's personnel file, searching for anything that might explain the precision unfolding on his screen. Later, during the mission debrief, one SEAL spoke quietly, almost as if he still couldn't believe it. I saw an enemy fighter lining up on my teammate. He had the shot. Then nothing. Just a puff of dust from the wall and he dropped. I don't know where the round came from, but I know who sent it. The street ahead was quiet, too quiet. Then without warning, the hostile covering the east corridor dropped as if he'd been struck by a gust of invisible wind. No one saw the shot. No one saw the shooter. But every man on the ground knew someone was clearing their path. Step by step, the extraction pushed forward. And above them, Maya Kepler stayed locked in her scope, providing continuous overwatch until the last man was out. Her first round cracked through a section of crumbling masonry, clean, surgical, dropping the northern sniper with a single chest shot. Her second round came seconds later, from a slightly shifted angle, punching through the knee of a machine gunner and rendering his weapon useless. Every shot cleared a specific segment of the route. No misses, no wasted ammunition, no hesitation. Over the comms, one SEAL couldn't hold back the thought out loud. Someone's clearing this route like they've had the script written for days. Maya's calm voice broke through the auxiliary channel. I don't write scripts. I remember the 7 positions where people didn't make it out. The channel went quiet. No one asked what she meant. Back at command headquarters, Sergeant Harlan Beck had been quietly digging deeper into her personnel file as the operation unfolded. On one monitor, he watched the live feed. On another, an encrypted folder suddenly unlocked, an old archive labeled Pathway 7R, name Maya Kepler. Previous unit, classification, undetermined. Designation, Chaos Extraction Specialist. There were missions the Pentagon never expected to succeed. Scenarios where commanders were told to pull back, walk away. But sometimes, walking away wasn't an option. That's when they called in the Pathway Guardians. And Maya Kepler had been one of the best. Her role was unlike any other long-range precision, fire to open corridors in the middle of chaos. She'd position herself at extreme distances, beyond the reach of enemy spotters, and start clearing the route, one target at a time, turning a dead end into a lifeline. Her record? Over 47 extractions, all but one successful. That single failure haunted her. Operation Echo Valley. The mission was supposed to be impossible. Extracting a recon, team deep in hostile territory, Maya had taken Overwatch from over 2 miles out, providing cover as the team moved block by block toward the extraction point. Everything was unfolding perfectly, until the final corridor. A sudden crosswind, barely noticeable, pushed her round off course by inches. The shot meant to take out a blocking sniper struck concrete instead. The sound gave away the team's position. Within seconds, enemy fire erupted. In the firefight that followed, 7 members of the team were killed. From her distant vantage point, Maya saw every second, helpless to close the gap, powerless to change the outcome. The official investigation cleared her completely. Environmental factors beyond human control. She was recommended for a commendation. She refused it. In fact, she requested immediate transfer to non-combat duty, and she never went back. From that day forward, she carried those 7 positions with her, burned into memory. 7 exact ranges, 7 angles, 7 failures she would never allow to repeat. At the training facility, it looked like she was just a meticulous technician, but every rifle she calibrated was tested against the ballistic parameters from Echo Valley. Every scope she adjusted was verified against the environmental conditions that had betrayed her shot that day. What looked like routine maintenance was continuous preparation for the moment she might have to step back into the fight. At command headquarters, Harlan Beck sat watching the current operations feed, her precision fire patterns in real time. Every shot she placed matched the clearance protocols from her old unit, opening safe corridors while suppressing enemy reaction. But Beck noticed something else. Something different about her technique this time. From the command center, Harlan Beck couldn't ignore what he was seeing. Maya Kepler's current performance wasn't just good, it was beyond her own record. Her shots were faster, cleaner, even more precise than the historical files suggested. This wasn't just Overwatch. This was redemption in motion. Every pathway she opened was more than tactical, it was personal. Each clear intersection represented one of the teammates she'd lost at Echo Valley. Her voice over the radio was calm, but the words carried a weight only she understood. Intersection secured. No friendly casualties in this corridor. Pathway 2 clear. Everyone moves safe through this section. Final approach protected. All team members extract successfully. They weren't just operational updates, they were quiet promises. Promises to the 7 she couldn't save. In that moment, Harlan realized the truth. Maya hadn't been avoiding combat all these years. She'd been preparing for the exact kind of moment when everything would hang on her skill. The 7 numbers she whispered during maintenance work, they weren't random calculations. They were the precise range and wind adjustments for the positions where her teammates had fallen in Echo Valley. She'd practiced those shots relentlessly until her hands could make the corrections without thinking, until there was 0 chance of a repeat failure. A quiet comment appeared in her mission log as she packed her gear. 7 pathways, 0 mistakes. It wasn't bravado. It was the creed of someone who didn't fight to destroy, but to make sure no one fell where she once had. The operation ended without a single casualty. And true to form, when command offered her commendations, formal recognition, even an official debrief, Maya declined. She walked back into base like it had been just another day in the shop. Her rifle was broken down on the workbench within the hour. And the 7 numbers? They stayed with her, ready for the day she might need them again. Back at base, Maya Kepler broke down her rifle the way she always did. Quietly, without ceremony, piece by piece, cleaned with the same precision she'd shown in the field. Then she locked it back into her secure storage container, where it would sit untouched until it was needed again. She refused recognition, refused commendations, refused even the quiet offers to take an instructor's role. But her work didn't vanish with her silence. From that day forward, the Clean Corridor Protocol became standard curriculum across SEAL training facilities nationwide, and every class began the same way. Watching drone footage of her Overwatch during the Iron Mantis operation, the way she carved a path without a single wasted shot. During one tactical analysis session, a young trainee raised his hand. How did she know to wait exactly 12 seconds before taking that shot? From the back of the room, Sergeant Harlan Beck spoke with a new weight in his voice. She wasn't calculating timing. She'd lived that rhythm before. She knew it. The elevated position from which Maya had operated during Iron Mantis earned its own name in the training community, Silent Ridge. Not because the fight was quiet, but because no one ever heard the shots that changed everything. Only the sound of lives being given safe passage. Training philosophy shifted. Aggressive elimination tactics began giving way to protective pathway doctrine. New operators were taught to see their job differently, not as the destruction of threats, but the creation of opportunities for their brothers to make it home alive. Maya's approach became the backbone of the curriculum. Her ballistic formulas for pathway clearance were pulled from her private notes, analyzed and built into advanced tactical planning. What she had developed from hard experience became standard methodology. But the biggest change wasn't in the numbers. It was in the culture. The old competition, kill counts, one-upmanship, began to fade. A new respect took its place. Students began to see that the most skilled operator wasn't the one with the highest body count. It was the one who brought every teammate home. Maya's workshop quietly became an unofficial pilgrimage site. Serious trainees found excuses to visit, checking weapons, calibrating optics just to see her at work. They watched how she inspected every rifle part, every scope adjustment, with the quiet understanding that lives depended on perfection. Because in her experience, they always did. Older instructors began telling stories of pathway guardians from other conflicts. Men and women who showed up when an extraction seemed impossible, who opened corridors through impossible enemy lines. The trainees slowly realized something. These weren't separate legends. They were chapters of the same story. And now, Maya was the latest name in that quiet line of guardian angels who had chosen not glory, not fame, but the responsibility of getting everyone home. Training exercises changed too. Live fire drills began including real pathway clearance scenarios, modeled on Iron Mantis, Echo Valley, and other high-risk extractions. Maya's work had reshaped not just the operation, but the doctrine itself. Over the months, Maya Kepler's quiet influence began to ripple through every corner of the training facility. Students no longer just learned how to shoot. They learned why to shoot. It wasn't about drilling holes in a target. It was about using each round as a tactical tool, one that could open a lane, force an enemy behind cover, or buy critical seconds for a team to move. In the classroom, instructors began building a new section into the sniper program. Psychological control under fire. Maya's example became the case study. The trainees quickly discovered that sometimes the most important shot wasn't the one that killed. It was the one that made the enemy duck at the exact moment a teammate sprinted for safety. Her influence bled into every part of the doctrine. Without a single announcement, the facility's unofficial motto shifted. Where the wall once read, "Eliminate and advance," it now read, "Protect and extract." No memo, no ceremony. It was just there, as if it had always been the creed. Maya's legacy was clear. Success was no longer measured by how many enemy combatants were dropped. It was measured by how many friendly personnel came home. And that shift wasn't just cultural, it changed how missions were planned. Commanders began integrating pathway guardian principles into extraction protocols. Mission planners started asking a new question. Where's our Overwatch corridor? Because now they understood, one skilled shooter in the right position could turn a no-return mission into a safe extraction. During orientation for new SEAL recruits, an instructor summed it up perfectly. The best sniper isn't the one who never misses a target. It's the one who never misses a chance to keep their teammates alive. Exactly 1 year after the Iron Mantis operation, Maya quietly transferred out of the facility. No ceremony. No announcement. No one knew where she was headed next, or even if she was still in the service. But the impact of her year there lingered. Every recruit learned during their first week, when you move through any corridor, remember, someone once cleared a path with shots that couldn't afford to miss. In the quiet wing of the training facility, just beyond the secured classrooms, there's a small glass case in the equipment storage room. Inside sits an old precision rifle. No identification plate, no mission details, no name attached. Just a small engraving on the wood base. The Pathway Keeper. Maya Kepler never stood in front of an auditorium. Never gave speeches. Never let her story be turned into ceremony. But her legacy still found its way forward. Months after she quietly left the SEAL facility, a final internal report circulated. It noted, without fanfare, that Maya had taken up residence in a small mountain town in Colorado. There, she established a defensive shooting academy for young women. It wasn't about training snipers for combat. It was about teaching how to create safety zones, how to guard the people behind you. Every morning before the students arrived, Maya would stand alone in the range house. On a weathered chalkboard, she'd redraw the same map. 7 dots, 7 angles, 7 lines of sight, the same positions she had carried since Echo Valley. She'd trace them with precision, as if committing them to the board was part of the ritual. And each time she did, she'd quietly say the same thing. These are the places I couldn't keep clear. Now I guard the paths for those who remain. At the Mountain Academy, the lessons were unlike any standard shooting school. Her students didn't learn aggression. They learned protective geometry, angles and distances designed to shield others, not strike first. She drilled them in precision, not for glory, but for the quiet discipline of knowing that sometimes the best shot is the one that keeps someone alive. The academy itself became more than just a range. It became a quiet continuation of her mission. A place where the concept of a pathway, Guardian lived on, not in the form of medals or citations, but in the skill and discipline of those she taught. At the Mountain Academy, the mission was never about medals, never about recognition. It was about service. Her students learned to calculate angles, read terrain, and take the kinds of shots that didn't just end a threat, but often prevented the need for another shot entirely. The academy gained a quiet reputation for producing operators who thought first about safety, not about numbers. From time to time, small pieces of news made their way back to her old colleagues. Stories of hunters safely guided through the backcountry by someone who seemed to know where every danger waited. Sheriff's deputies in small mountain towns whispered about a mysterious figure who had provided silent overwatch during rescue missions, ensuring lost hikers came out of the wilderness alive. But Maya herself? She stayed invisible, always at a distance, always just beyond recognition. The 7 positions from Echo Valley had long since stopped being scars of guilt. They had become points of vigilance. Every calculated shot at her academy honored the teammates she couldn't save by ensuring no one else would meet the same fate. Her influence kept growing. The Pathway Guardian doctrine she had refined became standard in American special operations training, and then quietly adopted by allied units around the world. Because everyone in the business of extraction understood, some missions required more than firepower. They required someone who could hold a corridor open when everything else failed. Maya Kepler's story isn't about survival. It's about redemption through protection. And somewhere in those quiet mountains, she keeps doing the work. Not for medals, not for thanks, but because she knows that when someone needs safe passage, someone has to be watching from the ridge. If stories like this one stop you in your tracks, if you believe that some legends don't need recognition to be remembered, leave a comment with where you're watching from and tell us which moment hit you the hardest. And don't forget, subscribe to Black and Wronged. Here, we tell the stories that others overlook, the ones worth remembering, the ones worth passing on, because real people, real courage, should never be forgotten.